No, but you know, the common thing here that most people would want to have their own space, would want to have their own house, you know, removed from every other. Even though some government, like even in Lagos State, where you now have government building an estate where people live together and, you know, pay their bills together, the security, every other services there. So will that actually also help in ensuring affordable housing scheme?
So one of the things that I've found is that for urban dwellers, there has to be a significant reality check, and that is one of the roles of the individual. The individual has to tell himself, I can't afford to live in a house that I would be sitting on 600 square meters and just be I and my family. I can't afford that. The individual has to make that decision and understand that he will be living with other dwellers, but the professionals now come in and build something that is very nice, a nice community, that the individual doesn't even miss the fact that he doesn't have his own backyard anymore. We are for those living in cities like Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt, the majority of us would not be able to afford, should not be able to afford to have our own compounds. By the time houses are being built more intensely, we find that the per unit cost of a house will reduce because developers now have more land to build on, and so that land, they can sweat it more and they can sell the housing units much cheaper to you and I.
Okay, so Nigeria has about 17 million housing deficit. Yeah. And the federal government, its economic recovery growth plan, aims to construct about 10,000 housing by 2020. I mean, isn't that a drop in the ocean?
So that is, you see it as a drop in the ocean when you still begin to see government as a developer. Like I said, government has many roles they can play. And to be honest, should they be playing all those roles, they may become jack of all trade and really not the master of any. Development doesn't necessarily have to be the role of the government. As a matter of fact, in most developing countries, and even under development countries, the governments have said, we will not go into development. But guess what? When they say they will not go into development, they enable development, and they actively enable development. Take, for instance, before 1986 in the US, a lot of people that were not high or middle income didn't have homes. They were living in shanties. The government of the day created a law called LITEC. It's pronounced LITEC, but it's actually spelled L-I-T-C-H. And they latched on to the Tax Reform Act that had been enacted a few years earlier and offered tax incentives, tax rebates to developers that decided to build what was categorized as affordable housing. So you must be clearly stated and registered as an affordable housing developer. Once you are registered as such, you will be able to access tax credits to the tune of development that you did. What made it better was that such developers were also able to onward transfer that tax credit to their financiers. So what happened was that financiers were rushing to finance these developers because they were still making as much money as though they were financing development companies, regular development companies. But what will happen was that people that needed houses at low cost were now able to access it because houses became cheaper. That is the role of a government as an enabler. So when you say I'm only building 10,000 houses, you need to find the people that are going to play that role of development and empower them and enable them to be able to build affordable houses.
So can you tell us now where the private sector plays a role in all of this?
So the private sector has to play a major role. I mean, a lot of things that we've discussed today talks about the private sector in terms of financiers, developers, and even professionals. They need to come to the party. They need to come to the table. See, we need to go past the point where we just say, I want to make a quick buck. We need to tell ourselves that there are many people that don't have homes. There was a young lady that had a TED Talk, and she said something. She said, a roof over one's head is the minimum requirement to have a dream. Having a place to lay one's head is the minimum requirement to have a dream. Many people are ill, are sick, are mentally deranged today because they don't have a good home. They don't have a good place to live. So we in this space we need to re-engineer our thoughts and understand that we need to start looking out for those that cannot afford to live in the homes that we have come out from every day. So we need to play our own roles significantly, think through things creatively. There's something I call creative leadership. Creative leadership is saying there is a problem and I'm going to solve it. I'm not going to look at price. I'm not going to look at cost. I'm going to work around all of that to make sure I achieve my goal.
Now,
And
one major challenge here now, it's all about funding. And,
absolutely.
building materials keep going up and all of that. So how would you assess mortgage financing, in Nigeria, and that also as an option?
See, James, I'm a student of the real estate market. I understand what is going on significantly. I mean, when government T-bills are still trading at 13%, 14%, bonds are as high as 15%, the mortgage sector has no chance. Cost of funds are just too high. So mortgages become too expensive. And that's some of the roles that the NMLC has been trying to play. And they're doing a great job at it, working back through all the processes to ensure that they can land mortgages at cheaper values. But I would like to talk about something differently that would affect the cost of houses. And that has to do with the manufacturing and construction sector. See, I've been in development for a while, and I can tell you for free that the manufacturing sector in Nigeria and the construction sector do not speak. They don't sit down and have a forum. They don't sit down and say, see, how do we land houses at 5 million? And they walk back, they go to the drawing board, they have the price written on the board. That price will not change. All the implements, what are the things we can do? And they pass it on to scientists who then go ahead and then find, see, there's a bathtub that is 100,000. How do we create the one that is cheaper so that we can land houses cheaper? Construction and manufacturing needs to speak.
Well, Taya, I guess we have a lot to talk about this.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because it's very important. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time, Taya.
Thank you.
Right, Taya Odunazi is the CEO, North Court Limited. After the break, we'll look at the equities market with a pre-open analysis. Just stay with us.